Hello, and a very warm welcome back to my dear listeners. Here's your host Sharmishta, taking you back to that crematorium where our protagonist is ready to take his first step into the world of the dead. It took me 3 full days going to the market and back to get the things the old woman had asked for. All this was easy, but what about a dead body? People who came to the crematorium with the dead burned them. Only if it rained heavily and the pyres couldn't be lit, then of course the bodies would be left as it is. But since the past few days, it didn't seem that anyone had died. No dead body was brought in. I began to feel dejected. Ma, there are no dead bodies. What shall I do? The old woman grinned. Her mouth had only a few teeth left and she looked hideous.
Do one thing, strangle me to death, then sit on my dead body.
At first I thought she was joking. Ma, how can I kill you? The old woman brought forward her bony, half-twisted arms and held mine. I nearly stopped breathing. Her palms were ice cold. In horror, I looked back at her bright pupils.
Dear boy, you will be doing me a great favor by killing me. I will obtain Siddhi. My knowledge will attain success. Siddhi.
I shook my head. No way, Ma, I am not going to kill you and get arrested by the police. Who knows, I might even be hanged.
Police? No one comes here. No one will know.
I flatly refused and got up to leave. To my utter horror, I felt those bony fingers gripping my arm tightly. What tremendous strength the old woman possessed. I couldn't move an inch from where I stood.
Sit down. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to kill me either. Wait here. 3 days from now, a dead body will be brought here. It will be a no moon night. You will sit with that body.
How do you know that a body will be brought here 3 days from now?
I know everything.
And where will that body come from?
A mile from here, there is a cobbler's village. A 15-year-old boy will die there. I have seen him, a very noble child.
But how do you know that the boy will die?
Didn't I tell you just now that I know everything?
I began to feel a bit frightened. The old woman had perhaps guessed my fright.
This scares you, dear boy. Then you won't be able to learn anything.
I merely nodded. It was late that night when the old woman suddenly said,
I need to go somewhere. I will be back soon.
But Ma, where are you going at this time of the night?
Shh. Don't ask questions, dear boy. Don't ask any questions. And yes, if you feel scared sitting all alone, here, take this.
She rummaged inside a cloth bundle she kept under the banyan tree and pulled out a tattered shawl. She handed it to me and said,
"Wrap it around you if you feel scared."
I smiled at her. Where did you get this, Ma?
From a dead body. I pulled it off.
My smile died away instantly. I nearly retched.
From a dead body?
The old woman turned and walked off slowly along the river bank and quickly disappeared. I threw the shawl on the ground. I wasn't going to wrap that thing around myself. No way. I sat down, hoping and praying nothing unearthly would happen. The eerie darkness was making me nervous. Either my ears were playing tricks on me, or was I hearing whispers? My eyes picked up skulls floating in the river. Suddenly it seemed to me that they had grown in size. I blinked. They seemed to be rotating in the water on their own. I shut my eyes tightly and began to pray. It was very late in the night when the old woman finally returned.
"Dear boy, did you feel scared?"
No, Ma, I didn't. Was your work done? She merely nodded. I didn't have the courage to probe further. 2 nights later, on the third night, she suddenly said,
"Go into the river. A corpse will be floating by. Bring it here."
I stood up. My stomach was already churning. Wading into that river meant going past those dead, rotten carcasses of animals. I fought back a bout of nausea, but there was no other way. I had to do as I was told. I waded into the river, knee-deep water, shutting out the waves of nausea as my legs kept touching dead carcasses. I could make out the outline of a corpse, its clothes stuck on the roots of a water shrub. I gingerly disentangled it and lifted up the corpse. In the dark, my hand brushed against the corpse's face. I felt something soft. The tongue was sticking out. Another wave of nausea engulfed me. Somehow, I managed to carry the body back to where the old woman was. She had prepared a bed of grass I could see.
"Now put the body here, with its head eastwards."
I did as I was told. Ma, why is the tongue out?
"I don't know. Maybe he was strangled to death."
I looked at her oddly. My heart lurched. Who would strangle a 14-year-old boy? A tiny speck of suspicion began to turn in my head. The old woman must have guessed my thoughts. She said calmly,
"Don't worry how it happened. He has been liberated. Now put some cardamom, some cloves, camphor, a betel leaf into this mouth. Pour some pour some country liquor in too."
I did as I was told.
"Good. Now turn the body on its stomach."
I wordlessly followed her instructions. I watched as she swiftly smeared sandalwood paste all over the body and drew 2 triangles with red vermilion paste on the soles of the dead body's feet.
"Now, dear boy, sit on that corpse and repeat after me. Om Phat, Om Hom Mritataya Namaha, Om Namo Vah Pitra Somaya Saha, Om Mritakaya Namaha."
I stared at her. I had not expected her to recite mantras in Sanskrit. She looked at me.
"What is it? Repeat after me.
I began to repeat after her, line after line of pure Sanskrit, unending mantras. My mouth was drying up. I was struggling to keep pace with her. The old woman was tirelessly chanting. Pure energy seemed to be flowing through her. And then, to my utter amazement, she suddenly vanished. I could hear her voice, but she was nowhere in sight. In the distance, I heard a jackal's howls. All around me was an inexplicable heat generating. My hands began to shake, but I continued the chants. Suddenly, I felt it. Clearly, the corpse had begun to shake, slowly at first, and then violently. All my resolve gave way. I jumped up and ran as fast as my legs would carry me out of that cursed place. I didn't stop. I could hear the old woman's cackling laughter behind me. Revival of the dead. And our protagonist is already feeling the heat, as they say. He has fled. But not for long. Let's see what happens to him next. Join me as I return soon with the next episode. Till then,